he set this up. So
I think he is.
okay, great. Well, here we go. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Eric Pannese. I think I know almost everybody. I'm coaching an intermediate team, but also um, do the, what is it called, the rules coordinator, rules commissioner of the league. So with that, we've been working pretty intimately with all the rules, and Ben asked me if I could do the Gamechanger training because I also I'm a pretty big fan of Gamechanger. So what we decided to do this year was, a lot of leagues have done this already, so we're actually not blazing any trails here, but we're going to use Gamechanger as the official scorebook for intermediate and juniors. Eventually, the goal would be to work that down to the minors divisions later, but we kind of want to flush out any potential issues with it at the upper divisions. But it's a good year to do it also because it's all integrated with the RPL backend systems that have all the teams loaded in, all the rosters, all that stuff. So already, if you're using the Gamechanger Team Manager, all that information is going to be preloaded into the app. So all of a sudden, technology is becoming more of our friend in the league here as we start using some of these newer platforms. So first, there are two Gamechanger apps. Just want to be super clear on this. The team manager one with the green logo is the correct one for us. That's actually, they're going to be eventually phasing out the old one. So the new one, not only does this one have more features, but it also is the one that's linked to the Sports Connect system, which is the one that has all of the rosters and schedules and everything in it. So this is called Team Manager because it does everything that this plus like the Shutterfly sites and Team Snap and all that used to do. So this app has, if you haven't been in it yet, has your schedule, it has your roster, it has messaging, it has everything you need to do to run your team. So hopefully your whole team is using just this one app. You can RSVP to games, the whole thing. So go for the green one if you have any questions. This deck will be sent out later, but hopefully most of you are already using this just for your team practices and stuff. To be the scorekeeper on the games, you must be a staff member of the team. So if you're not seeing an option to score games, then that means you're probably not a staff member. That's easy to do. It's just your head coach can add you. Every team gets up to 4 staff. So you typically want to have the head coach, probably 2 scorekeepers, a primary and a backup, and then whoever else you want if there's a need for another staff member of the team. So as we go through this now, I'm gonna demo. I'm just gonna show a few things in the app, but actually I'll probably do some slides first. But to show you some of the things that, let me actually get to this last. I should have put this slide later. There's a few things that really matter here. There's only 2 that matter: pitch counts and runs. And I say that because when you get into the app sometimes during a game, sometimes things happen in a game that are really wonky. A runner runs in circles and gets thrown out 3 different ways, and the umpire sends him back to the base and all that. You start getting flustered about like what happened on that play. At the end of the day, you want the base runner on the right base, and that's about it. But the only 2 stats that actually matter out of this are pitch counts, because those affect pitcher eligibility and protects the arms of the kids, and then runs, because the score of the game matters. The other stuff, like if you have the fielder in the wrong place, you tap it, they went to the third baseman instead of the shortstop, and he threw to first and got him out. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you want to get it right just for, to be as accurate as you can, but just want to focus, just remember as you're going through this that there's the 2 stats that really count are just these 2. So in the game day, once you're ready to start, the easiest thing to do to really get this flowing well is get the lineup cards from the managers beforehand. Now, in some cases, the managers, if they're really good, I'll show you, they can actually set their lineup in the app for you too. So when you go in the app, it's already set. That'd be amazing. I don't know that everybody's going to do that, but I'll show you how that works. But if you get your batting orders set up on both teams before the game starts, you're not really clicking around very much. You're just following the game. The managers are responsible for giving you a lineup card. That is their responsibility. They're supposed to bring 3 lineup cards to the game, 1 for themselves, 1 for the other coach, or other team, which coach and scorekeeper can share, and then 1 for the umpire. So just know that you have the right to ask for that as a scorekeeper. Then we time all the games because there's a rules around last inning, when the last inning can start. And so that's in the, I can, just for intermediate, I'll just bring this up real quick. The managers all have what's called a manager handbook as well. That does have the times, where is that? Let me just find it. It's in the Little League rule book. So all the rules we follow are in the rule book. We created a guide that has, I'm trying to find where the times are here. Here it is. So for intermediate, for example, the time limit is 2.5 hours. It's actually quite long. We should often get 7 innings in with that. But that means an inning cannot start after that time. So the app is really nice because it actually has a clock built into it. Right in the bottom left-hand corner, I'll show you. You just tap it when the game starts and it just shows you time played. Easiest way to do it. You don't have to worry about the watch, anything else. And then I actually did check the rule book since I'm the rule guy. You're supposed to start the clock when the first batter steps into the box and the umpire says play. That's when the game officially starts. And that's rule 4.02, if anyone's interested. And then just score the game. I'll show you how to do this. It's pretty easy. Try to get the hardest part, probably the hardest thing is that in certain levels of play, the fielders move around every inning. So if you really want to get it right, you try to put the right kids at the right positions in the field so that when you're tapping the play around, it actually says that, Tommy threw the ball to Johnny at first. Because that's what the little play-by-play does in the scorekeeper. If it's not Tommy and it was, Bobby and it says the wrong name, oh well, right? But it does, parents appreciate it, coaches appreciate it because the stats are more accurate. There's an easy trick to changing the positions, which I'll show you. It's quite simple if you do it from one of the screens. There's harder ways to do it too. And I actually want to point out, before I get to the demo, I will point out 2 more things now because it's probably easier. In intermediate, actually in all levels this year, yeah, minors too. Courtesy runners are being allowed this year. This is a new rule. But there's certain conditions. One is it's only for the pitcher or catcher of record when there's 2 outs in an inning. A record means they were the pitcher and catcher last inning. You can't say, oh, so-and-so is going to catch next inning, so I need to pinch run for them. It had to be the pitcher or the catcher when they were last on the field. And when there's 2 outs, they can pinch run for that runner with the batter who made the last out. So there's no confusion about who it should be. And that's important. The reason why is, by the way, for speed of play, I think you've all probably been there in the sidelines when the catcher was on base and then it was their turn to catch next inning, and you end up waiting 8 or 9 minutes for them to put on all their equipment before the inning starts. So it really is it's a speed of play thing as well, as to get the pitcher and catcher back out on the mound and warming up immediately when the inning ends. So there's an option here when
Eric,
on a runner. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, but didn't you just say it was the pitcher and catcher of record on the previous inning, not necessarily the next inning?
Mm-hmm.
How does that? What if it's different pitcher and different catcher next inning? That doesn't really do anything.
You still have the right to run for them, and then you can sub them out if you want to. There's only one way to write that rule, really. And this is a Little League rule, so it's that we chose to adopt, but and the board voted on that one. But it's pretty common. If you've ever done travel ball too, it's used pretty widely there. Yeah, I mean, you could theoretically pinch run for that catcher because it was a catcher record, and then have a different catcher next inning. It is what it is. But that's the intent was more for speed of play. And so if you do that, use the courtesy runner. If you do pinch runner and special runner, it makes changes to the lineup. Pinch runner actually takes the person out of the lineup and puts the other person in their spot and all that. So you just want to use courtesy runner. That's all it is a courtesy runner for that one play. And the last one, this is the one that's a little, not tricky, but just important to remember. One of the things that's allowed, so Little League has always allowed intentional walks, but you have to, or at least not always, but the last few years, but you used to have to announce them before the batter came to the plate. Starting this year, another new rule for 2021 for all Little Leagues is that you can now intentionally walk a batter at any time. So if it counts 1-0, 2-0, whatever it is, you can say, all right, we're gonna walk them. The pitcher doesn't have to throw the pitches, but according to Little League rules, the pitches still count. You still have to add those pitches to the pitch count. And so there's 2 options here. I was playing around with this last night to make sure I got it right. So I've tried to test all this out. If you just tap intentional walk, it does not add pitches to the pitch count. If you do intentional ball up to 4 times, if it's an intentional walk at the beginning of the at-bat, just do it 4 times. If the count's already 2-0, 2-1, whatever, just do 2 times. However many balls you throw there with intentional ball will count as pitches. So it's just that's one thing that's kind of the only thing that really matters in the sense of making sure the pitch count is accurate. And I'll show you how to, so let's go into the app now. So for those of you that have it, let me show you how to get to, the cool thing about this is you can do it now, you can do it later. There's a practice scoring function of the app, which you can basically, it has rosters, it has all the data, it has everything in there, and you can just play with it. You can try everything. You try to break it, you can try every pinch runner, Kersey runner. This is how I figured out exactly how all these things work. So if you go into the app itself, assuming you're already a staff member of the team, click on the team. From the team homepage, I'm going to share my screen now on my phone. So
Eric, can I interrupt for just a second?
Of course.
Someone asked if you can share these slides afterwards.
Yes, we'll send this out.
Thank you.
I intentionally made them to be shared. Yeah.
Perfect. It was in the chat, and I know you're busy doing other things, so I wasn't sure if you'd seen it.
Thank you. Yeah, I am not monitoring the chat. I really appreciate that. Let me know if something else pops up in the chat, or just feel free to yell out and ask questions. So let me get this. You should be seeing my phone now. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is it working? Okay. So this is my team. And right now, just for practicing first, if you go up to the top right, the little gear for the settings, immediately what you're going to see right there is the big blue button that says practice scoring a game. So as soon as you go in there, you can start. You're in a game, which is awesome because it resets itself every time you go in. So the first thing, as I mentioned, before you start the game, what you really want to do to make this easy is set the roster. And so in most cases, if the roster is empty, you tap add from bench. The bench will have all the kids on the roster. And you can actually tap them without even tapping out of the screen. If you just tap them in order, it actually adds them to the lineup in order. So it actually just takes seconds usually to do it. And then one thing you can do here is you can set their positions now if you want to right here from this screen, shortstop, third base, there it is. If you put someone into a spot where there's already somebody, it'll pull that other person out. So right now, this Wong must have been in third base because now he's an extra hitter. So I have an open position. So, actually, if you look at the top here, I have an open position at shortstop right now. I'm missing a shortstop, so I can put him at short. But there's an easier way to do the positions, which I'll show you in a second. But that's sort of, if you want to set your initial lineup, you can do that for my team. You see at the bottom, there's my team and there's opponent. And again, these rosters should already be in there. So really all you're doing is just putting them in order. And you can drag them up and down with that little thing on the right to just move if you need to change the order, if you have it out of order. Super simple. I'm hitting the side of the screen here. So you just drag and drop. It's pretty intuitive. And you can't really mess things up. I mean, everything that you do here is pretty intuitive. You try it, and if it doesn't work, just try something else. So once you're ready to go and you start the game, now this is the menu right here, and you can see the pitch thing is blinking. First, your clock is in the bottom right there. Let me talk about that first. That's my clock. As soon as I tap it, it starts. I can start the clock. Boom. And now my game is started. If the clock is missing, and this is in the slides they'll send out, when you go up to menu, the settings, the show playing time here is toggled on or off. It should be on, but if it's not, it's toggled off. And I just use the count up. You can count down too, but I just use the count up. That makes sense? Is there anybody here from Maps? I don't even know if Maps is using this. If you're from Maps and you have an extra player in the field, you can add a rover. That's your 10th fielder. So now so again, we just showed you all the tricky stuff. The easiest thing is as soon as a pitch is thrown, tap pitch. Now what happened? Was it a ball? Was it a call strike? Was it a swing and miss? These are the most common right up here, right? So I can just tap ball. Okay, ball 1. You can see the count at the top there. You can see my pitch count under R. Horton went up to 1. Ball 2, called strike. The menu doesn't even disappear. You don't have to hit pitch every time. It just stays up on the screen. And then once a ball is in play, then I can say, okay, ball in play means somebody hits the ball in play. what was it? Ground ball. You can say hard ground ball. There's really no difference other than what's written in the text of the play. Fly ball, line drive, bunt, pop out. So, ground ball, and then was he out at first, or was it a single, double, triple? So in this case, let's say it's out at first. I can just tap, basically drag them, go up to where it was fielded. Let's say it was fielded right behind second base by the shortstop. I can actually move him over here if I want to. You don't really have to. Ball goes out to him, and I hit done. Automatically makes the runner go up. So that's it. Now that's all I had to do. The next batter shows up. I don't have to do anything else. So I hit pitch again, ball, strike, ball in play, ground ball, double. Where did it go? Oh, it went all the way out to left center field. Puts my runner at second. So you can see now if I look at the plays, just to show you how it articulates what we just looked at. Ball one, ball two, strike one, looking, ball in play. Reynolds grounded out to the shortstop. This one here, this one doubles on a ground ball to center fielder. So it just shows you, that's where it gets the text basically from what you're doing on this screen here. Does that make sense?
Hey, Eric, a real quick question going back to the timer.
Yeah.
If you did count down, is it automatically going to put 2.5 hours in for an intermediate, or do we have to manually type that in?
I believe, let me just check. Here, let me reset. Oh no, look at that, it's going negative. I think you have to adjust the time. Yeah, you have to set it to 2.5
Okay.
hours.
Okay,
You
thank
do.
you.
Yeah. And then it'll count, now it'll count down. It's really personal preference how you want to do it. They both work. At the end of the day, you have to time 2.5 hours. A couple other things. Again, if you're not sure, I always say just tap on, if this guy steals third, you can imagine what I do. Oh, I literally pick him up, tap on him. Oops. Let me do it again. Tap on him and drag him to third. Was he safe or was he out? So in this case here, he was safe. Well, how did he get there? So this thing, it'll always prompt you. You don't really have to think about it too much. So I dragged him to third because he got to third. Then it says, how did he get here? Well, he either stole the base, defensive indifference, which I'll talk about in a minute if you're curious what that is, an error, fielding error. So in this case here, he stole the base. Now he's at third. Let's say here, now he tries to steal home on a ball behind the plate, but he was out. How was he out? Oh, he was caught stealing. That's it. So it really is just, and then it asks who got him. Well, in this case here, the catcher took care of it, and then done. It'll always ask you what you need to do. So it tries to stay fairly intuitive. Now let's say it's the trick for the two other things. If it's the next inning, and my team is coming out, let's say we get 3 outs, and I want to change the fielders. I find the easiest thing to do is if you just tap on the fielder, you can pick somebody else from the lineup. It's much easier than going over to the roster screen and having to go through everybody's roster. It's just like, usually I have a parent sitting next to me saying, that's Tommy in left, and that's Corey in center, and that's Timmy in left or right. And then you just tap on them and it puts them all in the right, it just puts them in the right place. That's how I usually do the fielding. I just look out in the field and see who's where. And you've got the numbers to work with too. So if you don't know the kids in the other team, the numbers are all on here. So it's super simple. Oh, it's 30, it's number 25 at second base. Okay. Well, if you make a mistake, there's an undo. And it just goes back, and you can undo as many steps as you want. Back, back, back. So you really can't go wrong because you can undo all of your steps. You could go back to the beginning of the game with undo if you wanted to. Or you can redo. So the undo and redo make it really easy because you don't have to worry about trying something. If you drag someone somewhere and it was wrong, just click undo. That's about it. And then of course the other important thing is switching out the pitcher, right? Because your pitch counts matter. So in this case here, this pitcher's thrown 7 pitches already. If he comes out of the game, I tap on him, I can choose a new pitcher, or you can also tap up here to sub out the pitcher as well. Or if you want to check the pitch counts for whatever reason, although it is already on the screen, it'll take you to the pitch count screen. 7 pitches, 4 strikes. So there's only one other main thing to cover, which is if you forget, which does happen. to sub out the pitcher. Because again, the pitch counts are really the only things that matter. If you forget to sub out the pitcher, let's say here, let me do one more at bat. Pitch, ball in play, line drive, single to right. Okay. So now I've got 3 plays here. I forget that we actually changed out the pitcher last batter. But of course, now my pitch counts, everything would be wrong because I forgot to start with the pitcher. All you have to do is go to the list of the plays, select edit on that play, and change the pitcher right there. It will automatically put that pitcher in the game at that point, and all the pitches that were thrown to that batter and the ones afterwards will all count to the right pitcher. So even if you make a mistake now, editing plays used to not be a thing in this app starting this year. It used to only be available in some versions. Now it's available on iOS and Android. So you can always go back and edit a mistake. The only reason you would normally do that is for pitchers. Again, the other stuff we don't really care that much about. Any questions on what I've shown so far? I think I covered most of the.
Eric,
Victor asked in the chat. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was asking, so when you go to the edit screen and you change the pitcher, does that work when the pitchers change mid-batter?
Probably not.
Okay.
You can edit, I think you probably have to edit the pitch count after the game or something like that, but that's going to be really rare for 2 weeks. First of all, hopefully you're not forgetting that off anyway, because if you forgot in the app, you'd forget on paper too, right? But usually a pitcher changing mid-batter, something happened, someone got hurt, something else, like you're going to be aware that it's not going to be an accident that pitcher changed. So just always watch for pitching changes, right? If for some reason you remember later, you saw them out, you say, oh, that's off by 2 pitches, let us know. We'll figure it out when we load the pitch counts. It's going to be rare. One more thing. In minors, an inning can end not with, so in intermediate, there's no run limit. In minors, an inning can actually end in 3 different ways. 3 outs, that's hopefully the most common way. 5 runs, or there's actually a rule in the rule book which we haven't talked about much, and it hasn't come up in the past very often, is all batters have batted in the inning. So you've batted around through the whole lineup. Historically, that hasn't come up very often because with 11 or 12 players in a team, to score 5 runs, you have to go through the whole lineup. This year, because we're going to be playing games with as little as 8 players in some cases, that's the other thing, I don't know if you all know that games will be able to start with 8 players this year instead of 9, just because they're giving teams more flexibility with potential COVID or other reasons why they're missing players. So with an 8-batter lineup, you may bat all 8 batters before you score 5 runs. It's technically possible. So that'd be the 3rd reason an inning would end. And to end an inning that's not 3 outs, you just go to menu at the top left and you can see end half inning, and it'll just swap over to the next inning. So it actually asks you to confirm, and here's what happened, and then it'll switch it'll switch to the bottom of the 1st. So just so you know, let me go back to my other screen share. So I put that in here too. So everything I talked about today, I put in slides. That way you could have it. You can even print this out and keep it with you if you're not sure. But for example, this one here, minors ending happening. It's in the menu at the top left. Believe it or not, I've shown you all the ins and outs because the detail, like these are the things that you could get stuck on. It's really intuitive and really easy. A couple other things, if a kid gets to second base and you do wild pitch or pass ball, it's a judgment call anyway. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. Why? But if you want to know the difference between these 4 things, these are the most common things you'll be asked when you're moving a runner around. Because it'll come up on the menu as how did this runner get to second? A wild pitch is a bad pitch. Catcher should not have caught it. Pass ball is, catcher should have caught the ball. Defensive indifference, if you're familiar with that, is, you've seen a lot of times, happens at all levels, 1st and 3rd, runner goes from 1st, steals 2nd. The team never throws down, the team never even looks at him. Technically, that's defensive indifference, not a stolen base. stolen base is a stolen base, like a real stolen base. Oh, this was left over from, this was somebody else's note. I copied this from somewhere. Okay. We don't have upper and lower minors. The league that I copied this from apparently did. So I think, oh yeah, and then there's, if you really want to become a know-it-all, there's lots of, it's actually really good art. The help articles on Gamechanger are really good online. So I have the link in here so you can click on it if you get the, when you get this deck. And that's it. It's easy, have fun. Any questions? Oh,
Yeah.
so the other thing we're recommending is that at least to start, and we can always make a judgment call somewhere during the season if there's no issues, is to have the visiting team keep a paper book. So if you're the scorekeeper for the visiting team, keep the actual, use the scorebook and keep the scorebook. That way, if something goes haywire with Gamechanger, we actually have a backup copy. So I think, again, most leagues that are doing Gamechanger are not doing this, but we thought that would be a good idea, at least to start the season, and then we can kind of decide if that's necessary going forward. Does that make sense? I think as the home scorekeeper doing Gamechanger, I think you'd really appreciate knowing that there's a paper backup, at least as you're getting used to the app. And then so therefore as the away scorekeeper, hopefully you'll be willing to do that so that you're supporting your home scorekeeper.
Eric, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that the away team that's keeping score on paper are keeping the scorebook, so we're not turning the scorebooks back into the box at the field like a couple seasons ago? Oh, well, I guess it wasn't a season last year, so the last season, 2019.
Yeah, those books are in, yeah, we keep those in the orange.
But we don't keep them. We're just, are we putting them back in there after you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to be sure. For sure.
And Eric, can you confirm that if we're doing Gamechanger and a paper book, which is official?
The home team, it's always the home team, so it should be the Gamechanger.
Right,
Our
so
goal
it
is
should
to
be the
make Gamechanger the official, it will be the official thing. The paper is probably, maybe it's only for the first 3 weeks or something until we were sure we got this. So the goal is
Just
not
want to make sure everyone was on the same page.
Yeah.
Right.
This will be easier. Once everybody gets this going, I don't know about you all, if you've done paper and this, I find Gamechanger to be way easier than the paper book, personally.
Oh, yeah. It's great. Gamechanger is great.
Yeah.
Another question is, do you know on Gamechanger, you know how we have on the RPLL site, the schedule? Can you export that or import the schedule into Gamechanger, or you have to put each game in by?
No, it's already in there. So here, I'll bring my screen back up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the first couple of minutes, so my apologies.
Yeah, of course. Let me bring this back up and show you. That's the advantage of this. Not only is the schedule going to be in there, the rosters are too. So you're going to have, even if it's worked correctly, which we haven't done this yet, the opposing team's roster should also be in there. So I'm going to exit out of this mode right now and go to my real team. So this is my team here. This is the schedule of games for my whole season. And once it's time, like my first game is Saturday here, once I get in here, you can see all I have to do is this is what I was saying, as a manager, I can set my starting lineup now. And that actually should make it even easier for my scorekeeper because it should be in there. And then I just have to tap score game.
Right. But so how do I get into my team then? I mean, if I'm keeping Gamechanger, you're saying all of the teams are already in there?
Randy, this is Adam. You and I can troubleshoot that because you may not be listed as a staff member. So make sure that you downloaded the right app. We'll make sure that you're listed as a staff member. After that, we can troubleshoot as needed.
All right, thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, and just so you know, you might have missed this slide at the beginning. There's 2 different Gamechanger apps. It's this green one. That's the one that's integrated with this.
I have the other one. All right, thanks. Yeah.
Eric,
See what happens when you show up late? No.
No, I know. Bad me, right? Okay, thank you.
No, shame on the shamer. Don't you know distance learning?
Hey, Eric, quick question. So the scorekeepers will have the app and they'll be managing it, but should the managers print up their roster and give it to the opposing manager as well?
Yeah, that's why I said that. Yeah, at the beginning, the managers should be still bringing 3 copies of their lineup to the game because they have to give one to the umpire too. You have to give one to the umpire and to the opposing team.
Okay.
Hey, Eric, can you please put these slides in the chat?
Yeah, let me.
And just like for future, like my laptop is really teeny tiny and it just so I couldn't see half the things you were projecting. So it's really helpful if you can give your presentation out at the beginning and then, I could have followed along better.
Okay, next time.
Sorry, I'm an educator, so we do this all the time. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, let me and so I'll send this out. What I can do with this presentation too, let me see if I can send this out in like in a printable form maybe so that it's
Well, if you want to know the truth, can you please share it in anyone can view it, not edit it? So like if you go to the share button at the top,
yeah.
and then you can select anyone and then you scroll down to viewer as opposed to editor, and then you can send that presentation out to anyone and anyone can click on it and see it.
Yep, hang on one second.
And hi, Victor. I'm sorry we didn't get to actually have a season last year.
I know, I'm just as disappointed, but I'm glad we're having it this year.
Okay, you should. The link is in the. Oops, that just went to Victor, not everyone. Hang on. There you go.
Thank you. That's much easier to follow along.
Eric, do you know if anyone has made sure all the managers have put the numbers of their players in to their roster on their end? Because I don't believe that's a requirement, but it certainly would be helpful for the opposing team.
That's a good question. No, probably not.
Maybe someone should do that.
So I think that would be good. Do we have a way of? Yeah, I think there's a couple of things.
Here's your video off stuff.
We should send a communication out to all managers anyway, at least at intermediate level, but probably just all the levels, asking if they're using Gamechanger, put your numbers in there, and what was the other one? And remind people to bring lineups to the games and stuff. So maybe just some initial reminders for people. So do we have a manager distribution list?
Yes, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
Good catch. Anything else? Hopefully this was helpful.
It was. Thank you.
If things, like I said, you really don't be afraid. Not that any of you are, but just don't be afraid of it. It can't. You really can't go wrong because there's always an undo button. So at worst, you click the wrong thing and you undo it. I mean, there's no going wrong here. And if you get stuck too, I always say you can always ask a parent nearby, like if you're trying to just fix the craziest play that ever happened and it takes you a minute, ask the person next to you to just watch that bat and tell you what happens. I've done that before.
Question, Eric. Let's say your team is playing Skelfo's team, and you guys are the official Gamechanger scorekeeper, but someone wants to follow along on Skelfo's team. Does it kind of tie together where someone can follow it? I'm
not sure. That's a good question. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know. We haven't tried that.
Skelfo's team have to be doing the same thing in order for any parents that are not there to follow it.
They may have to be for their own. They may have to do their own scorekeeping for their own team. I'm not positive.
Okay.
That's a really good question. Problem is that because, yeah, I could set up a fake game now to try it, but the problem is it wouldn't truly be an integrated game like we have with the whole system right now. Right. I think we'll know on Saturday. I think I'm actually the first. I might be the first. No, I'm the second game against Skelfo. I would tell the team for at least for Saturday. I would just tell the teams to, if they want to have Gamechanger for themselves, to be ready to do it. And if it works, then fine. But then after Saturday, we can issue guidance on how exactly this works.
Okay, great.
Sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
No problem.
Eric, has the new app, and Elizabeth might have already mentioned or have been alluding to that. So if I'm misunderstood, has the new updated app been sent to the team managers so they're aware of the new Game Changer team manager app? So did that even come out right? Oh my God, it's been a long day.
I think so. We've definitely,
Because we still had the, you know, like the original one, the white and red one. And curious if that would, because we already had everybody listed in there and, you know, inviting parents and they're all jumping on. Can that be uploaded to the new app or we have to probably manually do it maybe?
well, no, so two things.
Like,
One,
will I have to manually do it is really what I'm trying to find out.
no, two things. No, first, be careful about linking the two. It's kind of a cluster. We had a lot of problems with that this year.
Okay,
If your team manager app, the green one,
right.
should already have the rosters, I think even the parents,
Okay.
loaded automatically from the RPLO website. So you should actually not have to do anything to get the parents into the app because it's all integrated into RPLO site.
As
Okay.
long as both parents are listed on the player's profile.
Okay.
If mom signed, if I signed my son Charles up and I didn't add my husband, my husband wouldn't have access. But there's a really easy way for me to go in and add him as an additional parent or as an additional adult. Then he creates his own account and then he has access because he's linked to our child. And if anyone needs that information, I have it all typed up with screenshots. I'm happy to send it to you for you to send to your families. If they're like, grandma wants it too. Well, you have to add grandma to the account so she can access Game Changer.
And then follow up, only because this is the first that I've learned that there's a whole new Game Changer app. So I'm not sure that our team manager may be aware. So if he's not, he's the one that has to enter me in as staff, right? And then maybe one more alternative.
Yeah.
Okie doke. That's
And
gonna be fun.
Sometimes we've experienced if the manager hasn't yet accessed their team in the new app, the parents can't see it either.
Okie doke.
Sorry.
No, it's just we don't have our team managers out for this weekend. So I'm scorekeeper, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it. So we're going to try to get in touch with him after this call.
At least it's Wednesday, not Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's true. It is Wednesday, right? Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, so you have a little time. It's not Friday night.
Okay, thank you.
In some ways, this helps you though in the long run because this puts the onus back on the parents to manage their own, their own accounts, their own kids, their own access to Game Changer. Like you're not out there scrambling trying to add people to the app and everything. Like let them manage their own lives.
So another question, Eric.
Yeah.
Being that this will be the official scorebook for that game, once the game is over, does it just get saved automatically and then the managers can see everything they need to see, or does it need to be sent somewhere?
No, it's actually sent. It's saved. It's not even at the end of the game. It's live, right? So the data is always there. The managers are going to be responsible for uploading the pitch counts to the website afterwards. I originally I think there's an intention for it to all sync later, but I believe that sync doesn't exist yet. So it's still going to be a manual upload. I don't know. I was actually looking, Victor might know. I was looking for the instructions on Sports Connect the other day for how to upload pitch counts. And I think it's all there, but I think I couldn't do it as a test because none of the games had actually been played yet. So I couldn't.
Elizabeth, I think you sent me an email on that and I've been meaning to talk to you about it. There's a integration that they want to test with us so that pinch counts are integrated.
Okay.
So we should just request to have that done and see how it goes, or should we wait? I don't know, but we should talk about it before we make that choice.
Yes, let's talk about that like right after this so we can move in whichever direction we're moving.
I can show you, I guess I can show you one more trick to this. If you hear, this is more for the managers though, but let me show it to you because I did play with this too. There is a trick to pitch counts. The trick being, why is this not working? Yeah. The way that Little League rules work, the pitch count is when, let me find the wording on this. It's the threshold that's crossed when the batter is up. So if a pitcher reaches a day of rest threshold while facing a batter, so let's say the threshold is 50 pitches. If they reach 50 pitches while pitching to that batter, they may continue to pitch until one of the following things happens. The batter reaches a base, the batter gets out, or a third out is made somewhere else on the field while that batter's still up. So you might end up throwing 52 pitches to get the batter out. That still counts as 50 pitches for the days of rest rule. And that's the way the Little League rules are written. RPLL until last year did not work that way, but we adhered to the Little League standards now. It's a difference of 1 or 2 pitches usually, but it's basically when that it's the bat during which the threshold is passed, as long as they don't stay in for another batter. So I call it out because the app is actually designed to handle that situation. So you can download. So now, is my screen still? Where did I go? I lost myself.
It's up.
This gets a little tricky, but they did design for this, which is pretty neat. If I go into the settings, where is it? Hold on. No, it's here under my profile. Sorry, profile, league settings. First thing you have to do is go to teams in league, and you have to choose your team. It defaults to 0 like this by default for the league for whatever reason. Choose my team, then I can do what's called export pitch counts. When I export pitch counts, I don't have any data here. It actually shows you the pitch count, and the next column is the last batter first pitch count. It gives you that the pitch count, like it'll show you the 50 and the 52 is basically what it's going to show you. So the pitch count would be 52, but it would actually show you that they crossed the 50 threshold on the last batter. So you would know to enter in, we would actually use the data from that last batter first pitch number column instead of the total pitch count column to adhere to the Little League rules. Does that make sense? A little bit. So the cool thing is the app was built with the Little League rules in mind. It's just a little mind bending to go and figure it out, if you will. But it's cool that it's there. So this is more for the managers to know if you ever get into that situation where, because that will come up. Like there will be probably a number of times when pitchers finish their pitch count during a batter.
And you said that applies to days rest, not just maximum number of allowed pitches based on.
No, the max number is a hard number, I believe. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. We put this in the manager handbook, so the managers should all know this. The max is the max. That's for protect their arms, and those numbers are high. Like I got to tell you, I got a 13-year-old. He's not throwing 95 pitches in the game. But the days of rest is this thing below here, and that varies. It's really, unless you're juniors and seniors, it's really, this is your days of rest here. So when you cross the 50 threshold is when it's 2 days. And a day of rest is defined as a day of no baseball activity. So if you have a game Thursday and a game Saturday, there's only 1 day of rest between those games. So if you have a game Tuesday and a game Saturday, you got 3 days in between. So it's 3 days of no throwing. The extra day, like the Saturday, doesn't count. If that makes sense.
Right. So like the days you play a game doesn't count. Yeah.
Yeah. This does become important during the season. I mean, I've never really seen anyone intentionally bypass these rules. Maybe some of you have, but it's just more that managers, if they forget or they don't remember the days of rest or how many pitches they've thrown or whatever, sometimes they end up getting a pitcher, they leave them in too long and then they can't use them on Saturday and they were planning on using them on Saturday. So as a scorekeeper, which first of all, it's the manager's responsibility, by the way, to always ask to be on top of pitch counts. We always have we're supposed to have clickers too. So they're ultimately responsible. It's not your fault or your responsibility to monitor this. You have to report out on it as a scorekeeper. That said, there's also no rule against you helping them. We're saying, hey, you're getting, you're at 60 pitches right now, and going into this next inning, don't just be careful, something like that. Like at the end of the day, we can provide information. There's no reason why we can't, as scorekeepers, provide information.
Okay, so just so that I'm understanding this, if we have, I mean, Robbie's the same age as all, I mean, they're God forbid they pitch 95.
Exactly.
They basically don't pay for an entire week. They can't pitch for an entire week.
40.
But they also can't play because they can't do any baseball activity.
No, they can play. It's
They really just don't pitch
no pitching during those 3 days.
on the days of rest.
The days of rest is no pitching. Yeah. No pitching or catching, I believe. That's a good question.
It is the catching too.
Yeah. There's also other rules. There's other things when you get down further about pitching and catching in the same game. These, again, this is more for managers to know, not you, but this could come up with the pitch counts as well. So you may be asked for pitch counts if they've thrown more than 20. So a catcher who's thrown more than, who's caught for 3 innings or less, and pitches more than 20 pitches, can't go back to being catcher again. So there's a lot of nuance in here. And then in intermediate, you can actually have a pitcher re-enter a game, go back on the mound once too.
Yeah, you'll always get a manager asking for a timeout, saying what's the pitch count, wanting to know, and they're counting it down. And every year, I've always seen it without fail. A manager gets in trouble because they break this rule, and the board has a very specific way of how they handle that. But it just happens. It's not intentional, but we're pretty strict about the rule.
The nice thing is though, now if you're asked for a pitch count, you just have to look at the app real quick. Like it's super simple to give that answer. I can send this out as well. I actually think it'd be helpful for the scorekeepers to have this manager handbook as well. Do you all agree? I can send this out to all of you too.
Please.
Any other questions while I get this link? Okay, I'm going to post it in here, but I don't know if we send a follow-up to this meeting, we can also send the links, but it's going into the chat right now. This is a PDF of the manager handbook. That should be it. Thank you all.
Thanks so much for doing this, Eric.
As a manager too, thank you to all the scorekeepers for what you do, because it's a critical part of the game. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks again.